Alright, Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Hebrews, how many warnings, did we get from Almighty Yah that we will break bad or that we will be kicked out the land? It's a whole bunch of warnings throughout the Tanakh, man, before it actually happened. I'm talking about there's so many warnings, and there's so many warnings in the history was around, because our history is thoroughly documented as Israelites. The most detailed history on the face of this earth is the Israelites' history, and everybody got access to it. Now, we know back in the ancient days that, it wasn't no Tanakhs floating around, but the written words of the prophets and the covenant that Almighty Yah gave us was well documented. Now, this is what I want to do, man. I want to establish the fact that Almighty Yah is gracious and He's merciful. But if you break the covenant, He gonna give you some warnings. You know what I'm saying? And then when He say that it's over, it's basically over. And that's what happened to us Israelites, man. The most destructive ethnic group and people that ever experienced that on the face of this earth is the Israelites, and how we was destroyed methodically, and in how it's documented in detail before it happened. We had a lot of warnings. We had a lot of warnings that if we worship other gods, that what would happen to us, and that would set Almighty Yah off, is that when you start fooling with other gods, other deities, and so forth, that is basically worthless and no good, as we have seen, throughout our existence here in captivity, that how ain't nobody been able to save us from Almighty Yah's wrath. Nobody been able to save us from Almighty Yah's wrath, and they done pushed all kind of false gods in our corners, and especially during the slavery days. You know what was beat into us. They don't go into all that, but we all know. But this what I want to show the Israelites is how, man, we had a lot of warnings. We had a lot of warnings in Tanakh history, and it basically come to a full in the book of Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah gonna be the last act for the 99% that ran into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. We broke covenant, and then Almighty Yah even said we was, and then He even showed through His prophets that it happened. And this is a little taste of it right here. Look. All right, this is Deuteronomy. You Israelites have a hard time thinking that I don't be showing you, what part of the Tanakh that I'm reading, but I always do if you go through the videos. Some of y'all just don't want, this history to be correct, but it's coming from the Tanakh. It's going to always be correct. All right, this is Deuteronomy 31. And this, after we done come out of Egypt and we done fiddle-faddled with the covenant that He gave us, and just wasn't just all the way solid like we should have been. But this was said by the Creator. This is Deuteronomy 31:16. Deuteronomy 31:16. But let's get this, so some of you Israelites have a hard time following simple history. All right. The Elohim said to Moses, "You are soon to lie with your fathers. This people will thereupon go astray after the alien gods in their midst, in the land that they are about to enter. They will forsake me and break my covenant that I made with them. Then my anger will flare up against them, and I will abandon them and hide my countenance from them. They shall be ready prey, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, and they shall say on that day, surely it is because our Yah is not in our midst that these evils have befallen us. Yet I will keep my countenance hid on that day, because all the evil they have done in turning to other gods." See, therefore write down this, what I'm saying? So He told him to write it down, and that's why come we got this history. But man, the Israelite, man, got a bad habit thinking that other gods were endorsed by the Creator Yah. When he jealous, he ain't finna get you to worship no other gods, no other gods, no other gods. He hate if you do that. And then this is what Prophet Moses say. This is Deuteronomy 31:29. For I know that when I am dead, you will act wickedly and turn away from the path that I enjoined upon you, and that in time to come misfortune will befall you for having done evil in the sight of the Elohim, and vex him by your deeds. And that's what we did, and it's in detail how we did it. Man, the Israelite got to be the most slowest, greenest person on the face of this earth, because we will readily go worship other gods that wasn't given to us by Prophet Moses. Prophet Moses only give us one Yah, one Creator, and that's Almighty Yah. So, if somebody come later on in our history and say, this is the God you should worship, that is going to be false and no good, and it ain't going to be able to stand. It ain't going to be able to stand. And that's what we Israelites did. Man, I want to turn to the book of Jeremiah, because this was said. That this would be Jeremiah 17, 4. All right. And this was Almighty Yah saying to Prophet Jeremiah, you will forfeit by your own act the inheritance I have given you. I will make you a slave to your enemies in a land ye have never known. For you have kindled the flame of my wrath, which shall burn for all times. And this is a known fact. This is a known fact that were our ancestors were right here. Right here. And then we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. I'm going to show it in detail how we were so evil and wicked and wouldn't stop worshiping the Egyptian religion, thinking that it can save us and help us. And we see in history that it didn't, that it doomed us. And that when the Israelites chose to do that, man, we basically destroyed ourselves. Like this says, look, you will forfeit by your own act the inheritance I have given you. I will make you a slave to your enemies in a land you have not known. And this is a fact that we knew all about Africa, you know what I'm saying? Because I got videos showing that how we got stones and minerals from Africa all the time. So we was well familiar with Africa, so it wasn't a place that we didn't know, because we had an association with the Egyptians. And then we know that the League of Nations gave Africa its borders that it has today. The borders that Africa got today come from the League of Nations, and the European nations, robbing and cutting Africa up into the pieces that they want. And then we knew that the Israelites knew all about these parts, all about the north, because Almighty Yah sent for the north tribes, Japhet and so forth, man, to get into our heritage. And that how we knew, man, about the east, man, Elam was here, and man, the Babylonians and all these folks, east we knew about, and that how we did trade with them. But what we didn't know about was that coming across this water after being kidnapped and brought to these parts, these strange lands. And I explain to Israelites all the time how the Americas was a strange land. How America was a strange land to an Israelite, for the simple fact that, a lot of Israelites try to say, we was in the Americas and this where our home is. And I show that that's a complete lie, for the simple fact is that no goats and sheep and horses in America, especially sheep. We had to have lamb and goats, and then how we domesticated goats and lambs and so forth, and cattle and so forth, and had, man, I could show you in the Tanakh, man, where King Hezekiah had about 30,000 cattle and so forth, and that how in Americas no domesticated animals until the Europeans came over and did what they did to the natives to get the land, and then brung us over here, and then that's how they got their cattle and so forth, and how the Americas couldn't have been our homeland. So it was a strange land to us when we came. And then I got videos showing that how they took the obelisk that was in Egypt, that we was enslaved under during Moses' time, and set it up in Central Park and call it the Cleopatra needle. You know, I got videos going into all this and how that our bondage is just like it was in Egypt, you know, that we was under control, and that how a system had life and death over us. Basically, if you read Deuteronomy, the curses, man, it's chattel slavery. What they call chattel slavery, and the Israelites are the only people on the face of this earth to experience chattel slavery, where you was complete property like an animal to your captors, you know, slave owners. But look, we know that we brung it on ourselves, because look, you will forfeit, this is Deuteronomy 17, you will forfeit by your own act. Listen, you will forfeit by your own act the inheritance I have given you. I will make you a slave to your enemies in a land you have never known, for you have kindled the flame of my wrath, which shall burn all times. And that happened. I'm here to tell you that we kindled the wrath of the Creator, and me, we've been messed up ever since. And you know, Prophet Moses said that we will break the covenant just like the Creator said we will break the covenant. And it happened. But if you go to, let me see, man, I think Jeremiah, let me do Jeremiah 22. Jeremiah 22. And we're going to see what that say. Because throughout the whole book of Jeremiah, he telling us, y'all going to get kicked up off the land. Y'all going to get kicked up off the land, and you ain't going to be here. And I'm going to drive you off this land. I'm talking about everywhere you look, it's being said, you going to get drove off the land. And guess what? We got drove off the land just like tonight. Say and show. Alright? This is 22. Let me see what this here say. Look. But if you do not heed these commandments, I swear by myself, declared the Elohim, that this place shall become ruined. You know what I'm saying? Alright. You know, and it happened. Let me see, 22:8. 22:8. And when many nations passed by this city, and one man asked another, what did the Elohim do this to this great city? The reply would be, because they forsook the covenant with the Elohim, their Yah, and bowed down to other gods and served them. You know, do not weep for the dead, and do not lament for him. Weep rather for him who is leaving, for he shall never come back to see the land of his birth. And that's what happened to us. Man, that's an awful thing, how we, you know, basically destroyed ourselves. Let me see. Jeremiah 21:3. Alright. This to my Zedekiah, and how Nebuchadnezzar was coming, and then how they didn't want to believe. They was mad at Prophet Jeremiah for saying, hey, y'all gonna be driven off the land. Let's see. Jeremiah answered them, this shall ye say to Zedekiah, this said the Elohim, the Yah of Israel, I am going to turn around the weapons in your hands with which you are battling outside the wall against those who are besieging you, the king of Babylon and the Chaldeans, and I will take them into the midst of this city, and I myself will battle against you with an outstretched mighty arm, with anger and rage, with great wrath. I will strike the inhabitants of this city, men and beasts, and they shall die by a terrible pestilence. You know, already this, not the ones, but he said that we'll get put out and driven off the land. Let me see, 17. Alright, that'll be Jeremiah 19. Let's see what 19, 7 say. I had it all marked down. Alright, 7, 19, 7 and 8. Let's see. And I will frustrate the plans of Judah and Jerusalem in this place, and I will cause them to fall by the sword before their enemies, by the hand of those who seek their lives, and I will give their carcasses food to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth. And I will make this city an object of horror and hissing, and everyone who pass by it will be applauded and will hiss over all this wound, and I will cause them to eat the flesh of their sons. All right, yeah, that happened. When we was besieged in the cities and so forth. Let me see, Jeremiah 19:3. All right, let's do Jeremiah 24. I had a whole lot of verses, but I would do. Let me see, Jeremiah 24. Yeah, we basically doomed ourselves. When you read it tonight, we basically doomed ourselves. I will utterly forget you, and I will cast you away. This is Deuteronomy 23, 23, 39. I I will utterly forget you, and I will cast you away from my presence, together with the city that I have given you and your fathers, and I will lay upon you a disgrace for all time, shame for all times, which shall never be forgotten, and it shall never be forgotten. All right, this is Deuteronomy 24, 9. I will make them a horror and evil to all the kingdoms of the earth, a disgrace, a proverb, and a byword, a curse in all the places to which I banish them, and I will send the sword, famine, and pestilence against them until they are exterminated from the land that I have given them and their fathers. That's awful. Moreover, the Elohim constantly sent all his servants and the prophets to you, but you would not listen or incline your ears to hear when they said, turn back everyone from your evil ways and your evil wickedness, that you may remain throughout the ages on the soil which the Elohim gave to you and your fathers. Do not follow other gods to serve them. Do not follow other gods to serve them. And guess what? That's just what the Israelites did to worship them. Do not vex me with what your own hands have made, and I will not bring disaster upon you. But you would not listen to me, declares the Elohim, but vex me with what your hands made, to your own hurt. That's what we Israelites did. I'm talking about, we got so messed up and so confused. I wonder how we basically got confused is that I explained how that we kept a contact with the Egyptians and their false gods. If you keep associating with false god worship or the people that do false god worship, then you're going to get caught up in a snare as an Israelite, because we only supposed to worship one Yah. We only supposed to worship one Yah. But we constantly challenged the Almighty Yah. We constantly challenged Almighty Yah. And look, let me see. Alright, let me go to where we did the act to basically doom us, to doom ourselves. If you go to Jeremiah 44, and this is what we said. Alright. Well, Rick basically 43. I think it's 43. Alright. No, it's going to be, 42. Look, this is when everything had kind of like broke bad, and it was over with, because he kept giving us warnings. Then he sent the Babylonians after us, the Chaldeans, Ashkenazi, and so forth, under the name Skinty, and he sent them out to get us, to remove us. Then all the army officers whom Johan, the son of Ker, Jezaniah, son of Hoshea, and all the rest of the people, great and small, approached the prophet Jeremiah and said, grant our plea and pray for us to the Elohim your Yah, for all this remain, for we remain but a few of many. As you can see, that the Elohim your Yah tell us where we should go and what we should do. And what we should do. The prophet Jeremiah answered them, agreed. I will pray to the Elohim your Yah as you request, and I will tell you whatever response the Elohim gives for you. I will withhold nothing from you. Thereupon they said to Jeremiah, let the Elohim be a true and faithful witness against us. We swear that we will do exactly as the Elohim your Yah instruct us through you, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. We will obey the Elohim our Yah to whom we send you, in order that we may go well with us, that it may go well with us when we obey the word of the Elohim. Look, after 10 days, the word of the Elohim came to Jeremiah. He called Johanan son of Ker and all the officers, army officers, and the rest of the people, great and small, and said to them, thus said the Elohim Yah, the Yah of Israel, to whom ye sent me to present your supplications before him. If you remain in this land, I will build you and not overthrow you. I will plant you and not uproot you. For I regret the punishment I have brought upon you. Do not be afraid of the king of Babylon, whom you fear. Do not be afraid of him, declared the Elohim, for I am with you to save you and to rescue you from his hands. I will dispose him to be merciful to you. He shall show you mercy and bring you back to your own land. But if you say, we will not stay in this land, this disobeying the Elohim your Yah, if you say, no, we will go to the land of Egypt, that we may not see war or hear the sound of the trumpet, the horn, or that we might not hunger for bread, there will we stay. Then hear the word of the Elohim, O remain of Judah. This said the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel, if you turn your faces toward Egypt, and ye go and sojourn there, the sword that ye fear shall overtake you there in the land of Egypt, and famine and you worry over shall follow your heels. You know, we went to Egypt during the Babylonian wars because we thought that if we ducked off into Africa, that it'd be safer for us and that we'll be alright, because we thought that Egypt was a military might that could protect its borders. But guess what? Man, Egypt got their mouth tore out. You know, for 50 years, man, the Babylonians controlled the promised land in Egypt. And look, they try not to document this in history because they don't want to show no Israelites went into Africa. So they destroyed a whole lot of information that would show that the Israelites ran into Egypt. The Babylonian scribes, the Sebhardis, who, you know, was from Mesopotamia, that did trade with the Egyptians, that was with the Babylonians to when they had destroyed the Egyptian empire, that they start methodically getting rid of all evidence to show that the Israelites went into Africa to preserve their history that we abandoned. You know, the covenant that we abandoned meant to them, that they didn't want to show that the Israelites ran into Africa and that's where we was enslaved from, because then it would shed light, you know, on their history. So that's why a lot of Israelites can't find no historical, basically, information that the Israelites ran into Egypt or was there in Egypt, because the people that got our heritage, the Babylonian scribes, the Sebhardis, that was there during the Babylonian times and was there during the Greek times and after, and how that they destroyed all the information because they knew what they was looking for and they was well versed in hieroglyphic writings and so forth. But look, as you read this, look, all right, you know what I'm saying, to follow your heels and go to Egypt, and there shall you die. All the men who turned their faces toward Egypt in order to sojourn there shall die by the sword. You know, that will make us get off into the interior of Africa, get away, because we've seen all the prophecies come to pass, especially if you read the book. I forgot which chapter was where they wanted to get rid of prophet Jeremiah for saying, hey, y'all gonna get driven off the land. Everybody gonna get driven off the land, and how we ain't gonna be here no more. And then the people wanted to get him, meaning kill him for saying that. And then we will see that it came to pass that we got driven off the land that will make us go into Africa. You know, the Israelites that went into Africa during the Babylonian wars did not show back up. The Queen of Heaven worshippers did not show back up when that little 1% that was exiled to Babylon, the good figs, you know, that went on to Babylon, and then Almighty Yah brought them back in about like 50 years after the Persians destroyed the Babylonians. And then they come back. But how the ones that went into Africa to sojourn and worship the Queen of Heaven, the false God religion, how we never come back out of Africa to be reunited with them. And you can read the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. You know, if you read those histories, you would not read about these Israelites going into Africa, coming back out to be reunited with them. And our enemy, the Babylonians, were defeated by the Persians. So we had the opportunity to come back out and be reunited with them. But we didn't, because that's how you know that Almighty Yah is real, because the curses were fulfilled through us, the ones that went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. But look, all right, and my anger and wrath poured out upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will and I will my wrath to be poured out upon you, to go into Egypt. Ye shall become an excretion, a woe, a curse, and a mockery, and you shall never again see this place. The Elohim spoke against you, O remain of Judah. Do not go to Egypt. Know well then, for I warn you this day that ye are deceitful at heart when you sent me to the Elohim your Yah, saying, pray for us to the Elohim our Yah, and whatever the Elohim our Yah, the Elohim our Yah may say, tell us, and we will do it. I told you today, and ye have not obeyed the word of the Elohim in respect to all that he sent me to tell you. Know well that you shall die by the sword, famine, and by pestilence in the places where you want to go and sojourn. And man, the curses, everything got us. Look, and then when prophet Jeremiah finished speaking, look, when Jeremiah had finished speaking all these words to all the people, all the words of the Elohim, that Yah, which the Elohim, there Yah had sent them to them, Azariah son of Hoshea and Johan son of Ker, and all the arrogant men said to Jeremiah, you are lying. Elohim our Yah did not send you to say, don't go to Egypt and sojourn there. It is Baruch son of Ner who is inciting you against us, so that we will be delivered into the hand of the Chaldeans to be killed or to be exiled to Babylon. So Johan son of Ker and all the army officers and the rest of the people did not obey the Elohim's command to remain in the land of Judah. Instead, Johan son of Ker and all the army officers took the entire remain of Judah, those who had returned from all the countries to which they had been scattered, and sojourned in the land of Judah, men, women, and children, and the daughters of king, and all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar, chief of the guard, had left with Gedaliah son of Hakim son of Shaphan, as well as prophet Jeremiah son of Nun, and they went to Egypt. They did not obey the Elohim. Oh man, we paid a terrible price for that. Look, man, as you finish, you know what I'm saying, read it, look. Man, it'll go, you know what I'm saying? Alright. This is Jeremiah 44. For the word of the Elohim came to Jeremiah for all the Judeans living in the land of Egypt, living in Midian, Tapanhes, North, and in the land of Petra. This said the Elohim, the Yah of Israel, ye have seen all the disaster that I have brought on Jerusalem and all the towns of Judah. They are a ruin today, and no one inhabit them, on account of the wicked things that they did to vex me, going to make offerings and worship other gods, which they had not known, neither they nor their fathers. Yet I persistently sent men to you, all my servants, the prophets, to say, I beg you not to do this abominable thing which I hate. But they would not listen. They would not listen, or give ear to turn back from their wickedness in not making offerings to other gods. So my fierce anger was poured out, and it blazed against the towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem, and they become a desolate ruin as they are today. And now this said the Elohim, Yah, the Yah, a host, the Yah of Israel, why are you doing such great harm to yourself, so that every man, woman, and child and infant of yours shall be cut off from the midst of Judah, and no remain shall be left of you? For ye vexed me by your deeds, making offerings to other gods in the land of Egypt, where ye have come to sojourn, so that ye shall be cut off and become a curse and a mockery among all nations of the earth. So that means slavery was going to get us. That means slavery was going to get us. Slavery was going to get us, and it was no way around it. Especially when you read this, cut off from the midst of Judah, and no remain shall be left of you, for you vexed me by your deeds, making offerings to other gods in the land of Egypt, where ye have come to sojourn, so that ye shall be cut off and become a curse and a mockery among all the nations of the earth. Have ye forgotten the wicked acts of your forefathers, of the kings of Judah and their wives, and in your own wicked hands, and those of your wives which were committed in the land of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem? No one has shown contrition to this day, and no one has shown reverence. You have not followed the teachings and the laws that I set before you, or before your fathers. Man, that's what happened to us, and that's why come we in captivity with these strange men with these strange names and all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got strange names and everything, and been in bondage a long time. And then if you read them curses, in the book of Deuteronomy, it is awful. And that how everything line up. You know what I'm saying, with what we going through. Everything line up with what we going through. And if you Israelites read the Tanakh curses and not the King James version, you're going to get a quite clear understanding, that the King James version, the book the Christians wrote, that they kind of like water it down a little bit. But if you read the Tanakh, Deuteronomy 28, you're going to see that it's chattel slavery. And that's what we Israelites went through. All right, shalom, Israelites. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood.